The Duke ruled Athens and was top in command. He governed his people with a firm, steady hand. The Queen and Hippolyta would soon share his life. In just 4 days they'd be husband and wife. Throughout this great city the excitement grew. Huge feast was proposed, entertainment too. These arrangements were made at a feverish rate, but the business of governing would not wait. A man named Aegeus burst into the room. His face was furrowed with fury and gloom. His daughter Hermia felt the strain. She knew her father was there to complain. A young lad Lysander followed behind. Passionate love thoughts and bled his mind. He cherished dear Hermia, that was clear. So did Demetrius, who brought up the rear. Aegeus bowed low to the Duke and confided,
"My daughter will marry the one I decided. Demetrius is the maid I chose, but yet to this poor man she snubs her nose. She wants to be Lysander's wife. I won't allow it, not on your life. I tell you, Theseus, this is the last straw. I come to beg the power of the law. You must do as I say and listen to me. Prepare to die. That is the decree."
The noble Duke rose from his lofty throne.
Your behavior, young lady, I cannot condone, making your father very irate. And on this matter, there will be no debate. Fathers choose husbands, that is the rule. So marry Demetrius, don't be a fool.
For Hermia pleaded in tragic despair. She thought this rule was completely unfair.
I despise Demetrius.
She said with candor,
I'm devoted to handsome Lysander. This love of my heart cannot be swayed. To marry another would be a charade.
the Duke was offended.
I said there's no choice. You'll forfeit your life.
He replied in a strong voice.
Or to come and spend the rest of your days. You must decide soon. There will be no delays.
Hermia protested.
As long as I fly, I'll become a nun. I'll even die.
The atmosphere was very tense. Lysander spoke out in his own defense.
I'm as rich as Demetrius, and as well born. Hermia's love for me you must not scorn. And furthermore, I wish to say, Demetrius loved Helena until yesterday. He courted the lady and won her soul. I tell you, Demetrius has no self-control.
The Duke interrupted.
I've heard of this talk. I'll speak with him on it, but it may be better to straw. The law of Athens cannot be denied. By my wedding day, you have to decide.
The Duke and his group then quickly departed. Hermia was desolate and broken-hearted.
Don't cry.
Said Lysander.
Your tears will soothe, for the course of a true lover never did run smooth. An aunt of mine lives 7 leagues away. We could go to her place without delay. She has no children, not even one. She loves me as though I were her son. There we shall marry and end the sorrow. Run away with me at twilight tomorrow.
Hermia, whose face was tear-stained pale, glowed with new hope.
I will not fail. Lysander, I vow by Cupid's bow, tomorrow night I'll be ready to go. We'll be in the forest.
She said without fear.
Into the darkness we'll disappear. Together, my dear, both shall flee. And after I'm strong, I'll marry thee. My sweet Lysander, I will no longer grieve.
Then they hugged goodbye and turned to leave. They hadn't taken but a single pace when the two were greeted by a familiar face. It was Helena, Hermia's best friend. It looked like she was at her wit's end. She sighed.
Demetrius is my life, but he dotes on you. I'll never be his wife. Oh, teach me, Hermia. Tell me what to do. If only I were as beautiful as you.
Hermia replied.
Dear Helena, don't cry. I guarantee you I can't stand your eye. I frown on Hippolyta. He loves me still. I love Lysander and I always will.
Lysander spoke out. He was gracious and kind.
I'll tell you, dear friend, what's on my mind. We're running away tomorrow night. It's the only way to solve our plight.
With that the two left, content as could be, for Helena was in agony.
Demetrius loves Hermia.
She cried in despair.
This is far more than I can bear. How can I get him to love me instead?
Then a brilliant idea crept into her head.
I'll tell Demetrius my scheme. He'll thank me for sure and I'll be supreme.
So off she ran, her heart on fire, to find Demetrius her long-life desire. Now all this time, not far away, 6 jolly men were practicing a play. Nick Bottom was there, and so was Tom Snout. Robin Starling, the tailor, was also about. Francis Fleet and Snug added to the din. Then Peter Quince called.
We'd better begin. A place that is requested for thesis and it's probably having much time.
Peter Quince cried.
What do you soon, so act fast and listen as I read out the names of the cast. Nick Bottom, the weaver your role is to be. Pyramus, a lover that will soon see. A lover most gallant that kills himself for love.
Nick was ecstatic, girl fit like a glove. He cried.
In some great part, I'll give the ladies a change of heart. I'll have them all in showers of tears. They'll remember my actions for many years. My fear must be hard to resist. River Sea, dear Quince, go on, Phyllis.
Francis Flute, you'll take this beach role. I want you to give it your heart and soul.
Flew was excited, his eyes sparkled bright.
Was this
He asked.
a wandering night?
Oh no.
Quince replied.
This beats a sheep and madly in love with Pyramus.
I'll not play with woman.
Francis Fleet sneered.
Can't you see I started a beard? Let me eat this beef.
Bottom shouted with joy.
I'll be the girl as well as the boy. I can speak like the lady. I can speak to the
He chirped. Quince shouted.
You'll be the God. I'm the director. You must come down.
Then Quince turned to Snug.
And on your road, you'll be our last show.
I'll be stripped now.
Snug said with concern.
They'll say me quiet while I learn. Before slow study, I implore.
Don't worry.
Cried Quince.
All you do is roar.
Nick Bottom jumped up and down with glee.
There should be that could be. I growl so loud they would never play. They made me do it again and again. Roar!
He thundered, then his tone became smug.
I told you how much better than Snug.
You'd scared the lady.
Quince said.
And that's wrong.
Then I will roar soft as a nightingale song. Woo, woo.
Bottom started to squeak.
I know the women will love my feet.
You're here.
Quince cried.
That ends the day made. Any more of this talk I'll not tolerate. We'll meet in the woods tomorrow night in your first off play by the moon's silver light.
The hours dragged on till the following eve. The 4 desperate lovers prepared to leave. Lysander and Hermia met as was planned, then trudged through the forest, hand clutching hand. Demetrius followed the couple's route. Helena chased after in hot pursuit. They all moved through the woods unknown, but these mortals were not alone. And if they looked closely and listened with care, they'd have heard rustling in the bushes out there. Perhaps they'd seen the shimmer of wings and many other magical things. For in the dark woods, as the humans took flight, the fairies held revels far into the night. As Oberon was king of this fairy land, and little sprites jumped up to his every command. But for fairies too, life's not always serene. Oberon had quarreled with Tatiana, his queen.
No, that by no I proud Tatiana.
He said. The queen paused as her fairies fled.
Why are you here?
She cried with disdain.
All you do is argue and complain. Since the start of midsummer we've had this feud. It's put all nature in an angry mood.
Then change it!
He
You
cried.
have the cure. Your stubbornness I will not endure. Failure over on Torwood joy. I do but beg your servant boy. Come now, Tatiana, my only request. You'll be my helper and will end this unrest.
Tatiana's anger was acute.
It's not that easy to end our dispute. You do not seem to comprehend. This boy is the son of a very dear friend. She's in my service.
Tatiana said with a sigh.
But alas, she is human and had to die. I promised her I'd raise her son. I won't give him to anyone. The fairer than I is not the child of me. Come hither, my elves. Away we shall flee.
Then Tatiana left with her fairy lot.
I'll get my revenge.
Oberon thought.
I'll need some help to change my bad luck.
So he called for a sprite, a fairy named Puck. Robin Goodfellow was Puck's real name. In the world of magic, he held much acclaim, for Puck was always playing jokes on all the unsuspecting folks. But this was not a time for glee, as the fairy king began his plea.
I need you to find an unusual flower. I'm in frantic need of its magical power. It's called love and idleness, my little sprite. It's purple in color, though it used to be white. When sleeping eyes are streaked with its juice, a powerful love potion is set loose.
Oberon snickered.
Don't be pain, my queen. I'll observe her sleep in the forest green, then drop the nectar into her eyes. When Tatiana awakens, she'll have a surprise. The next thing she sees be a bull, or wolf, or bear. She will suddenly feel a love most rare. I will not cancel this magical spell till she gives me the boy, then all will be well.
Puck bowed to his king.
This
flower I'll find. I can do it so fast it will boggle your mind. I'll search everywhere and try hard to please.
Then Puck fluttered off into the breeze. As Oberon reveled in his spiteful scheme, Demetrius raced in on another theme. Helena followed a few steps behind.
I pray you, my darling, change your mind. I have to you my love and thrill. For you, Demetrius, you are my world. I reported your plan. I did my part. I beg of you now, give me your heart.
Demetrius erupted like a raging cyclone.
Get out of my life. Leave me alone. I told you before, you make me ill. I love her and I always will.
By now, poor Helena was completely distraught. She desperately thought. Demetrius stomped off.
It's her name this time.
Helena sobbed and ran along behind. Now Oberon was touched by Helena's plight, so he made a second promise that night.
This shameful conduct just won't do. I'll use the flower on this lot too. When the young man awakes, he'll see Helena's face, and it will be her he'll want to embrace.
Then the fairy king searched the skies for a sprite.
When Puck returns, we'll make everything right.
Meanwhile, little Puck continued his probe. He looked like a blur as he circled the globe. Finally, in a distant place, Puck found the flower to end this chase. It smelled like sweet honey and had a soft touch. He cradled it gently, it was treasured so much. Then homeward bound, he blazed through the night, soaring at the speed of light.
Welcome, wanderer.
Oberon cried.
Well done. We'll do our tricks one by one. I know a name for the wild time blues, the oxlips, and the dying violet rose. There sweeps Tatiana some time of the night. Wood in these flowers with dances and delight. I'll meet Tatiana for a rendezvous. This juice will make all my dreams come true.
Oberon continued.
And you, my comrade, must find the youth who's got star-craving mad. The lady he scorns follows close behind. You must give this Demetrius a change of mind. Take some of this juice and anoint his eyes, to make sure Helena confirms when he spies. You'll know the lad by his Athenian clothes. Come back before the rooster crows. Fear not.
Puck replied.
But newsflash.
Then off he flew to complete the task. But Puck was soon to commit a blunder. He mixed up the couples, and that was no wonder. Hermia and Lysander still wandered around. The home of his aunt was nowhere to be found. The gentle Hermia was most distressed.
Beloved, I'm faint. I need to rest. Lysander, find you out of bed, for I upon this bank will rest my head. It would be wrong if together we'd stay.
So Lysander lay down a short distance away. Above the forest, eager Puck flew until this twosome came into his view.
There's the youth that Oberon chose, for he was wearing just the right clothes. And here's the maiden sleeping sound on the dank and dirty ground. They lie apart, another good sign. If romantic intentions I'll realign. A powerful passion I will induce.
On Lysander's eyes, Puck poured the charmed juice.
So wait when I am gone. Promise now to Oberon.
Along came Helena, gasping for air. Her heart was heavy and full of despair.
Oh, I am out of breath in this fond
She saw Lysander lying in a heap and rushed to him.
Is he dead or asleep? Lysander, if you live, good sir, awake.
Look at the fire of thy sweet sake.
Replied Lysander as he leapt to his feet, embracing Helena.
You are my sweet.
Give me a break.
Helena scoffed in dismay.
I know it's okay. Do you think I was born yesterday? Your speech to me is like a sword. How dare you treat me with such scorn?
Then she stomped off in great disdain. Lysander followed with a loving refrain.
I love you.
But what about Hermia, still sound asleep, lying on the grass in a curled up heap? Soon she awoke from a dreadful nightmare. She couldn't find Lysander anywhere.
Lysander, my love, what has occurred? Out of fury? Gone? No sound? No word? Alas, where are you? Speak if you can.
Then into the night she ran after her man. As Hermia woke from her slumber deep, Titania, the fairy queen, wanted to sleep. She called to her fairies who were playing nearby.
I need you to sing me a lullaby.
Peace Blossom and Moth were the first to begin, then Cobweb and Mustard Seed joined right in. They circled Titania. They circled Titania, who made not a peep, for she had fallen fast asleep. Oberon peered from behind the trees, then crept towards her on bended knees.
What you see when you do wake, do it for thy true love take, be a winged hat or bear, weapon or door with bristled hair. When you wake it is thy dear wait, when some vile thing is near.
As chance would have it, quite near where she lay, the 6 merry men were practicing the play. Not one of them noticed Puck appear, for he was invisible and had nothing to fear. Puck fluttered down from the air and hid behind the director's chair. Then Bottom stood up to practice his cue. He wanted to be ready for his debut. As he left the stage, Puck followed behind, a cunning thought brewing in his mind. He'd work his magic on this man too.
Idea what to do.
What followed next was hard to conceive. His friends saw a sight they could not believe. When Bottom returned, he had a new head, no longer a man's, but a donkey's instead. They all trembled with fear and stared at his face.
Monstrous! Oh, shame! Let's wise play!
The scene that followed was complete disarray. They howled in terror and all ran away. Nick Bottom looked puzzled.
This is making donkey of me. I'll show them that I am here. The larks can sing out loud and clear.
Titania was sleeping in her flowery bed when Bottom appeared, his arms outspread. Was his ludicrous tune. Her eyes flew open. She wanted to swoon.
My ear is much enamored of thy strength. I pray thee, gentle mortal, sing again. I am enchanted by your lovely notes. Come, fairies, and frankincense smokes.
She wrapped sweet roses in his hair.
You are beautiful beyond compare. Stay with me forever, I propose.
And then she kissed his soft, wet nose. Puck was delighted delighted with the success of his plan, and leaping bottom, part burrow, part man, back to his master he flew in a dash, intent to deliver the latest news flash. Oberon was eager to hear of the trick.
How did it go, Puck? Who did she pick?
Wait till I tell you.
Puck said with pride,
I know you'll be satisfied. She's enough of a monster.
was Puck's report.
A donkey.
He cried.
To make a long story short,
Oberon chuckled.
What a surprise. This goes out much better than I could devise.
They then heard footsteps approaching their spot. Hermia rushed in, looking quite distraught. Demetrius followed of his own free will.
I won't give up. I love you still. Demetrius,
She cried.
you're such a freak. Did you kill Lysander on this week? I'll tell you I'm innocent.
Demetrius said.
I'm sure Lysander's not dead. Why did you scold me so severely? I only almost left you. Demetrius, I'm inexperienced.
Hermia kept running. He lay down to rest. Oberon watched this scene in dismay and pointed to Demetrius in a worried way.
You squeeze the juice and take his eyes. Told me, Puck, I want no lies.
I remember the woman,
Puck was alarmed.
but that is not the man I charmed.
Puck, oh, Puck, this isn't right. You chose the wrong man, you silly sprite. Fly like the wind, be Helena's guide, and entice her back to this man's side. Go quickly, Puck, fix this mistake. I'll use the power to cure the heartache.
Oberon advanced and held out the bloom. Demetrius inhaled its enchanting perfume. As the fragrant potion shrouded his mind, Puck appeared with Helena behind.
Oh, Captain, your wishes I did execute, but Lysander's in swift pursuit.
Stand aside!
Oberon shouted.
This noise they make will cause Demetrius to awake.
Then,
Puck grinned.
2, well, 1, and the sport will have just begun. Shall we find their pageancy? Lord, what fools these mortals be.
As Oberon and Puck quickly withdrew, Lysander and Helena rushed into view. Cried Lysander.
I worship you so.
She yelled.
Where did it go?
Then Lysander awoke.
Oh, Helen Bonnie, tell me, love, just give me a sign.
Then both of the men dropped to their knees and cried together.
Please.
Helena couldn't believe her ears, appalled to hear their taunting jeers.
The two of you are acting absurd. In fact, abnormal at work.
Demetrius cried.
I'll prescribe my life. I want to tell Helen as my wife.
Lysander countered.
And speak she adores. My affection for her is greater than yours. I'll prove it to you with the blade of my sword.
This was a challenge that couldn't be ignored. Helena watched in sheer disgust. Neither of them had won her trust.
Oh, Spike, I see you all are bent. Sit against me for your merriment. If you were men, as men are in show, you would not use such a gentle lady so.
Now all of this caused quite a hullabaloo. Hermia stumbled in, her clothes askew. Her eyes were still wet, her head was hung low. To lose Lysander had been a real blow. Then out of the blue she heard his voice. She wasn't aware of his new love choice.
Lysander,
She smiled.
why did you go?
Behold,
He replied,
it's the ugly old crow.
Hermia could hardly believe her ears. This was beyond her wildest fears.
Is this a dream? It cannot be.
Lysander sneered.
It's Helena for me.
Helena's heart and mind were in a blur. She thought they all made fun of her. She turned on Hermia with passion deep.
This game you play is really cheap. Injurious Hermia, I do contend. You join these men in scorning your poor friend.
Hermia was shocked.
You are the thief. Your accusation defies belief. Lysander is mine. You saw him by night. You canker blossom. You parasite.
She lunged at Helena.
You painted maple.
The whole situation was soon out of control. Now Oberon looked on and saw his bad luck.
You must stop this drawing.
He told little Puck.
This is your mess, so make everything right. Hurry now, overcast the night.
The sprite obeyed his master's bid and in the forest quickly hid. He directed the mortals round and round until one by one they collapsed on the ground. Then he sprinkled the juice as told to do in Lysander's eyes and off he flew. There the floor slept, the earth was their bed. In came Titania caressing Nick's head. Nick brayed with pleasure in her embrace, and his heart beat at a rapid pace. The king of shadows watched from afar. This was indeed a sight bizarre. His lady wrapped in a donkey's arms, completely entranced by the creature's charms. Oberon knew he'd done his queen wrong, and this silly behavior he wouldn't prolong, so he crept closer to Titania unseen and removed the spell from the eyes of his queen. Her eyes flew open as if on cue, and there sat Oberon in her view. Oh, what visions have come to me, and when I dreamt I loved a donkey,
There he lies sleeping.
Oberon said.
A wreath of flowers around his head.
Titania was shocked. I loathed his face. How could I worship a creature so base? Oberon suggested.
The dukes will be over a tree.
He whispered to Puck.
Get this clod on his feet. Return the man's head. Send it back to his team. Make him think it's all been a dream.
With a hint of a smile and a twinkle in his eye, Puck changed the donkey back into the guy. Nick Bottom stood up, his vision seemed blurred. He wondered aloud what has occurred.
I've had a dream most rare, so strange as hard to share. I had Peter Quince write a song, a march and sing out loud and strong. But now I think I should away, tell my friends to rehearse the play.
Now all this time the lovers were asleep, perfectly still, not making a peep. At dawn there entered in the glen Duke Theseus and Aegis and their huntsmen. They blew their trumpets loud and clear. The couples leapt to their feet, pale with fear. Theseus demanded.
I'd like to know, you're not my though?
Lysander spoke first. Please. It was with Hermia I ran away. For the law of Athens we would not obey. In a dream I loved Helena, but not anymore. Hermia is mine like she was before. Hermia's father was not amused. Then Demetrius spoke out, just as confused.
My love for Hermia has lost but still. It's Helena on my heart, I know.
Duke Theseus smiled.
Why the creep? Instead of one wedding, we'll have three.
Later, when their vows were done, there was singing and dancing and lots of fun. The Duke proclaimed,
Now for a play to celebrate our wedding day. I'm told to track home mirth. We'll all enjoy the world's worth. I am the prologue.
Peter Quince cried.
We don't want the ladies horrified, so I'll tell you this story blow by blow.
What's this?
The Duke cried.
A one-man show? It's the silliest things I can recall. Oh, look, here comes the wall.
In this place, said the tinker,
It doth befall that I must not my name present a wall, and such I won't as I would have you think had in it a cleaning bowl or chink. You must assist me the lovers of play, whisper through me every day.
Pyramus entered.